Welcome back to Podforce One. I'm Miranda Devine, and today I'm with Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce. Secretary Howard Lutnick, thank you for joining Podforce One. You're a New Yorker. You have known Donald Trump for 30 years. You know everybody, Elon Musk, Charlie Kirk. Jeffrey Epstein was your neighbour. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about him, East 71st Street. He was your neighbour for 10 years. How well did you know him?
All right. So we are in number 11 and he lives in number 9.
Right.
So we renovate, we buy our house, and our house is pigeons and mice.
Right.
Okay, that's it. It was derelict.
Right.
So we rebuild our house. We move in 2005. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein is arrested in like 08, I think, or something like that.
Right.
So knock on the door. His assistant on like a Saturday says, Mr. Epstein, your neighbor would like to invite you over for coffee. So my wife and I go next door. You know, we walk the 7 steps,
Yes.
right, to the next house for coffee. We share a wall.
Right.
Right. So it's in New York City. So he invites us in. We have coffee in this, and he says, do you want a tour? We said, great.
Interesting.
He's got a really big house.
Every room you went into?
He's got, well, I'll tell you. So his house is like super big, really wide. And so he gives me a tour in the living room, big living room. And then across from it is double doors. I assume it's the dining room.
Yeah.
And he opens the doors, and there's a massage table in the middle of the room.
Ooh.
And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he like gets like weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, and the right kind of massage.
Ooh.
Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
Really?
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
Oh.
And so I look back at it as a gift.
Yes.
He gave me a gift
Yes.
of avoid. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
So
that's my story. A one and absolutely done.
Right. So, I mean, that's an incredible story that you could pick up that he was a pervert.
It's gross. The guy's gross. Right with my wife. Like he's gross. The guy's gross. This was not, the deep nuance of Howard Lutnick. This guy's gross.
Right. So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
No, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money. So
what happened to those videos? Why is there now such a dearth of information when, Donald Trump's people are running the FBI and the DOJ?
I assume way back when, they traded those videos in exchange for him getting that 18-month sentence, which allowed him to have visits and be out of jail. I mean, he's a serial sex offender. How could he get 18 months and be able to go to his office during the day and have visitors and stuff? It must have been a trade. So my assumption, I have no knowledge, but my assumption is there was a trade for the videos because there were people on those videos.
And have you talked to Donald Trump about this and shared your theory?
No, I mean, he knows the story.
Right.
But my story, that, I was the one and done with the guy. He knows that story, but that's it.
He would have been interested in that story.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's a story. It's just a one and done. That guy. Ugh.
And did Trump feel the same way about him?
I don't speak to him about these kind of, these are just distractions.
Right.
The thing about the president is I'm doing the most important thing that I see. And then right after we do that, he does 10 other things that are as, if not more important, that are not my thing.
Right.
And you're like, wow. And he is great at it. And sometimes he lets me stay. So like he lets me stay for the Joint Chiefs of Staff come in. Right. I'm like, this is like the coolest thing ever.
Tell us a little bit about how you got into this bizarre role, really. You're a billionaire. You've been an incredibly successful businessman. You were a Hillary Clinton supporter, a classic New York Democrat. And here you are, Commerce Secretary in a Republican administration. How did you get here?
I have known Donald Trump for decades, and I supported his campaign, but Hillary Clinton was very supportive of us after 9/11.
Right.
And so I sat down with President Trump, then candidate Trump, and I told him that I just don't forget. So I supported in 2015. So I supported both because I told him I had to support her because she was helpful to me post 9/11. And I don't forget. Remember, she was the New York senator,
right? And
she helped get bills passed that helped New York, right? So, but then once, so I supported both candidates. But once Donald Trump got elected, I was all in with Donald Trump. And, he came over to my house. I had him to fundraisers. I did all sorts of things together with him. But again, I was still rebuilding my company post 9/11. So I really wasn't involved in the politics side. I was just being financially supportive, and that was really it. And then towards the end of his campaign, at the end of his presidency, when he's running again, then I went all in big. I raised a lot of money for him. I gave him a lot of money, and I was all in for Donald Trump. And then, the election was stolen from him, as we all know.
2020.
And I spent lots of time with him. We played golf together. We would hang out. And I always talked to him, oh, you're running again. And even when he was saying, I'm not running again, I'd say, oh, you're running again. You're running again. And
why did you think that he would?
Well, because of course he would, because the country needed him. Right? The country needed him. So now it's November 2023. He gives me a call. He says, will you help me? And this was not a normal conversation. He wasn't asking just for money. He was talking to me as his friend. And I said I would. And then I gave him a lot of money. I raised him a lot of money, probably $100 million.
Wow.
And then I went on the campaign trail with him. And I think the most important thing we did is we designed his tariff policy together. We talked it through. He taught me, I tell you what, he taught me everything about tariffs. We designed the tariff policy together. And we talked about his economic policy. I didn't really understand tariffs before I met Donald Trump. I mean, you're a New York businessman. It's not really your world.
Right.
And then once I started talking to him about it, I understood it. And then I'm a voracious reader. I'm a voracious study. I studied everything he did during his first term. I knew everything that was possible. And I started talking to him about it. What is possible in his next term? And so we designed this model. And that's why we came out so hot, right? Think about it. January 20, he walks into the Oval Office. Right? And by April, full-on tariff policy is gone. I mean, so no one's ever gone this fast. No one's ever gone this big. And it was because we talked about it for over a year and a quarter to get ready, to understand what to do and how to do it, what the laws were, and how to go out there and go get a change in U.S. trade policy to stop every other country taking advantage of us and finally put America on the right footing.
And you became his chair of his transition. Tell us, what does that mean? What did you actually do then?
So in his first term, Chris Christie started as his transition chair. And what Chris Christie had done, we learned, is that he made like deals with the other guy saying, if you get a job, you'll be loyal to the president, but you'll also be a little loyal.
And is that how he got so many bad people?
I don't know. What happened is right after the election, they fired him from transition and they had to start again.
Right.
And that's why it just didn't work so smoothly.
Yeah.
So I started talking to the president about it in June, said, I will do it. I'll go learn everything about it. In August, he gave me the official role.
How did you know what to do?
Well, you study. You read, you study, you think, you understand it, and you talk to Donald Trump a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew what he liked and what he wanted. So then I went out and recruited everybody. I recruited 8 people for each job. I went out and found the top 150 Republicans across the country and had them help recruit for me, from Warren Stevens to Steve Schwarzman, Ross Perot, Chuck Schwab, you name it, across the country. I called them all and told them, I'm going to deputize you for a transition to help Donald Trump build the best cabinet ever.
So is that the job, transition, is finding his personnel, his cabinet?
Yeah, that's what transition is, to fill the cabinet position, the top 30 jobs of the government. So he had 8 candidates for each job.
Right.
And he would not talk about it while on the campaign trail. He would think about it, I'd be with him, and he'd say, you know what? No, superstitious.
Really?
Right? Let's win, not worry about after.
Because he thought he would jinx it if he assumed he was going to win.
But he trusted me
Yeah.
to know that I would recruit the best people. And so what we did is I had 4 screens, 4 giant 85-inch.
This is in a big room in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, in Mar-a-Lago. 4 screens behind him, 4 screens behind me.
Yeah.
That mirrored each other.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I could sit across from each other. You could see the screen over my shoulder,
right,
but I didn't have to sort of go look around.
Yeah.
I could see it right over your shoulder. And each screen had candidates, and it had their resume, it had their video speaking, so he could see how they present on TV, all
so you'd
the
have
details
like Pete
about them.
Hegseth,
Correct.
Christy
and all the other
Noem.
people. But
Right.
it started with 12 jobs, national security. And then I'd say to him, he'd walk in, I'd go, pick a job, any job.
Yeah.
And he'd say, okay, Secretary of State. And up would come 8 pictures.
Right.
And then he'd say, okay, let's pick Marco Rubio. And then all the details of Marco Rubio. Beautiful picture of Marco Rubio, right? All his details, all his and background, everything you'd want to know, page after page after page. And the next candidate. And the president's job, go from 8 to 4, which he did the first day on national security. Next day, 4 to 2, interview the 2, choose who you want.
I see, right.
And that's why it went so quickly.
And was he ever indecisive about, was there one particular, like for instance, Attorney General? How hard was that?
Well, I think he had a plan, right? And his plan was, we'll go with Matt Gaetz because we don't know what that report says.
So forget the 8 candidates. We'll go with Matt Gaetz.
He had lots of candidates.
Oh, okay.
And he whittled it down because he thought Matt Gaetz would have backbone and guts, right? And that's what he wanted. He didn't have that last time. You remember that? He had the opposite of backbone and guts last time.
Yeah.
So he was going to err on more backbone and more guts.
So you would have had some sort of more conventional candidates.
They did.
But he went with Matt Gaetz. And then where was Pam Bondi in there? Was she number 2?
No, right behind. Basically, the model was, we're going to read the report that's going to come out from Congress on Matt Gaetz. And you got to remember, the president has had lots of reports written about him.
Dirty.
So he takes him with a grain of salt because he knows they can often be full of it.
Yeah.
Right? So he said, let's go read that report. And if it's okay, we'll stick with Matt. And if it's not okay, then Pam will come in 1 second later. So everyone knows the deal is already done.
Right.
And that's what happened. So you saw it was like right away. So Pam was always a great choice.
It almost worked with the Senate because they were so horrified about Matt Gaetz that Pam Bondi just skated through. Was that deliberate?
I think Pam is a fantastic choice. I mean, sharp, capable, amazing. So I think the cabinet, so for me, I know the cabinet really well.
Was everyone that he chose your number one choice?
No. Here was the beauty of it. I had no number one choice. To do my job correctly, I can't say, I like this one a little better. Because that would make me a player. Mm-hmm. So he called once and he said, what do you think of my choice? And I said, I think it's a great choice.
For which one?
Doesn't matter. And I said,
he was angsting a bit.
No. And he just said, why? I said, because it's one less thing for me to do. You're happy, therefore I'm happy.
Right.
And he goes, you didn't have a favorite? I go, no, that's not my job. My job. I mean, if you think about it, let's say we're talking about Department of War. Right? So he'd say, well, based on my deep government experience, which is 0, and my deep knowledge of defense and the military, which is 0, I think you should pick. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Right? And so the answer was find the best candidates, set up the best candidates, and let President Trump and anybody who wants to bring in the room to advise him and guide him, let them all come in because he likes to do things with other people. Let him pick who he wants, let him interview who he wants, and I would just support them and support the process. And it went brilliantly well, brilliantly quickly. He was very, very happy. I mean, he just loved it because he'd say, play their video. And there they are talking, right? Now, they're not talking about being Secretary of War or Secretary of State there, but they're just, he could see how they present. And the thing about our cabinet is, and I love these cabinet meetings because these people are so capable and so, they can talk, they can present, they're really super smart. This is the best cabinet that any president has ever had.
Yes, and they're all very young and telegenic. And as you say, they can sell the message of the government. And was that a number one criteria?
I think it was a key criteria that they could talk, right? That they could present, that he didn't want people who couldn't get out there. And if we're going to have a policy, go sell the policy, go talk about the policy, make sure that people of America can understand what we're doing. And that mattered to him. So I think he wanted people who were smart, thoughtful.
It was a bit like
but
Apprentice.
Also could present.
You set it up a bit like The Apprentice.
Well, not really.
A little bit. And at what point did you decide that you wanted to do more than just be transition chair and go back to your life, that you actually wanted to be an active part, a cabinet member, and in fact, Treasury Secretary?
Well, the deal was that I was going to help with transition.
Yeah.
And then the train was going to leave the station and I was going to wave goodbye on the platform.
Yes.
And go back. Because remember, after 9/11, my company was located on the 101st to the 105th floors of the World Trade Center. And all my 658 of my 960 New York employees were killed. My brother Gary was killed.
Yeah.
My best friend Doug. So I rebuilt the company to take care of their families. We gave 25% of our profits, which since the company didn't really make much profits after the murder of everybody, we gave 25% of our payroll to the families.
Your bonuses.
And we gave them $180 million to those families. Wow. So I just had to rebuild my company. And my company was finally back. It was big and strong and winning and capable. And that was that's what I was supposed to do. So I did this for Donald Trump. I really set aside working, starting in August. Full time, I worked on the transition because you can't recruit all these people and do it right. Sort of as a part-time job. And I expected to go back to my firm. But the president had such a good time with the transition. And it went so fast and he felt so good about it. He would leave the room and slap me on the back and say, come on, Howard, you're going to serve. Come on, Howard, you're going to serve. Come on, Howard, you're going to serve. So that's where it came from. You got to serve. You got to be with me. Come on, you got to be with me. And he would just say it, pat me on the back and head out.
He wanted you with him.
He did.
Yeah.
And then we would have dinner and he would just talk about it. So, but that really wasn't what I was interested in.
Yeah.
That wasn't the plan. That wasn't the gig.
But then you decided you wanted to be Treasury Secretary, but Scott Bessent already had his heart in that role. So there were rumors at the time about tiffs and sort of a showdown at the Mar-a-Lago Corral. What actually happened then? Yeah,
there was no showdown at the corral, nothing like
Subtly.
that. Yeah, nothing.
You're a New
like
Yorker.
That.
You don't do it out front.
No, it's all that happened was that the question was what role, if he was pushing me to have a role,
right?
What role would that be? Because I didn't want, that would go against the rules, right? If I'm not pushing for any candidate for any job, right? It was better for me that I wasn't even looking for anything for myself. That was better, right? And so when he started pushing me, you got to do something, that created people worried that what if I put my name in for their job?
Right.
And so it was more prophylactic, people protecting themselves rather than saying, Howard's in for the job or Howard's in for that job. They were worried that the guy running transition would try to get this job or that job.
Them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so in the end, I sat down with Donald Trump and I said, what do you want? And he said, well, Howard, what's the most important thing for you? And I said, the most important thing for me is the trade agenda.
Right.
That's what I've been talking about on the campaign trail with you. That's what I care most about. So as long as I can oversee the trade agenda, really, it doesn't matter to me. That's what I want to do with you. And so we decided that the Commerce Department has the most tools, right? It has BIS, right? BIS, the Bureau of Industry and Security, right? Export controls, 232 tariffs. That's the auto tariffs, the pharmaceutical tariffs, the semiconductor tariffs,
all
steel and aluminum, right?
Yeah.
All these, and these are not part of the Supreme Court case. They are not. These are durable, defensible. It's why Europe did the deal. It's why Japan did the deal.
So
it's why Korea did the deal.
So even if the Supreme Court overturns the tariffs in November, you think that they're still durable?
Oh, yes.
Oh, right.
Oh, these 232s, this building where we're in is the power, is the power of tariffs. That's why I am the Commerce Secretary, because there's incredible power of the tariff agenda in this building. This is great. So I think the president's going to win the case in IEEPA. It's perfectly sensible that the president of the United States should design our foreign policy. How could he not, right? That would be ludicrous for him not to be able to do it. But the backbone of our tariff agenda is also these, what we'll call sectoral tariffs, autos, right? Things like semiconductors, those kind of things where we can bring manufacturing back to America. So that's part of the joy of being the Commerce Secretary.
Last time I saw you was in Scotland a couple of months ago, and you and President Trump had just clinched the deal with the EU. And that was a massive one, I think the biggest one ever. You had 15% tariffs they'd agreed to from nothing, and then $750 billion that Europe was going to invest in America in energy. Tell me a little bit about how it works in the room. He was... How does Donald Trump work? I remember you describing it as you set the table and he comes in and closes the deal. But there's a lot of theatre in there, isn't there? He pretends to be angry, walks out. How does it work?
I don't think he pretends anything.
Right.
I don't think Donald Trump is there to act.
But it's a show.
Well, I think it's a show of strength.
Right.
I mean, Donald Trump knows that he's going down. So the tables are sort of set like... There are two chairs, the two leaders' chairs, sort of face each other, but
so
sort of face in and out.
Leiden was there,
and Madam President is there, and Donald Trump is there, and then his advisors sit sort of right next to him along the way, and they talk to each other, right? And so Donald Trump comes out, and he starts with, a very strong position, right? We are the greatest economy in the world. We have the greatest consumers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know the customer's always right? Because we are the buyer. And you run a $235 billion a year surplus with us. What is it about you, Europe, that you should be selling us $235 billion more than we sell you? It just doesn't make sense. It's because the rules are stacked wrong. Do you agree? And that's a tough way of negotiating, but he is.
But you've already softened them up beforehand, haven't you? You've literally set the table. You've gone in and spoken to these leaders, and it's sort of good cop, bad cop with Donald Trump, is it?
I do set the table, and the president calls me the best table setter he's ever had.
And what does that entail? What is it? What's your personality that allows you to be that?
It means, it's a businessman,
right?
A deal maker and a businessman. And I work for him. Mm-hmm. So my job is to set it up so he can close the deal, right? And get as much as I possibly can. Don't lay off at all. I'm not a layoff sort of guy. So I get the most that I can.
You push. And
then he comes in and does better. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. He does better. And it's such a joy for me to watch him do it, because he is the best. He's the best deal maker.
What does he do? Is he charming? Is he menacing? How does he do it?
He's everything.
Right.
He's soft and hard. No, at the same meeting.
Oh, right.
No, he's very kind and very warm, and then very sharp and very hard. And he says, look, in the middle of the EU meeting, he said, all right, I guess we're not going to get it done. We'll just come back in a month or two and we'll do it then. And that was really one of the few times that I spoke. When he said that, I said, well, we're all here now. Why don't we try again? Madam President, do you really want to get a deal or do you want to wait till another time? And then she jumps in, no, let's get a deal done. And then,
what was the sticking point? The 15%?
I don't remember.
Right.
I mean, we reached the exact right point because in every economic deal, there's a number where if you go above that number, trade goes down, right? So if I charge 25%, you're going to sell less.
Yes.
Right? Because otherwise you just raise your price forever. So there's a price where, so we knew that 15% was the maximizing number, where you do the most trade with Europe, and that's the highest price you could charge without denting that trade.
Yeah.
So America would make the most money. So Donald Trump and I went over that before the meeting. So he knows the math.
Yeah.
Right? So now how he wants to play it is up to him. Now, you could charge more. We would make more, but they would make less. You know what I mean? It becomes we win, they lose a bit.
And they
Whereas
feel
at
ripped off.
15% is kind of like,
Win-win.
is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
So it's up to him to decide, does he want America to win more or does he want to make like the perfect deal with Europe?
And Ursula von der Leyen, who runs Europe, she seemed happy afterwards and relieved and was hugging everybody. Is that how you want to leave people to feel like they haven't been ripped off, but they're part of the sort of team?
Yeah, if you get the sweet spot, they knew that you had to change those numbers, that $235 billion trade surplus, that they're selling more to us, it's just not sustainable and it doesn't make any sense. So they knew that Donald Trump was going to fix it. So could we fix it in the maximizing way? Let them have their auto industry, not the 25% would have forced their auto industry all to move to America. Right? So could they keep the jobs? Could they maintain their industries?
Right.
Could they keep their pharmaceuticals there? Right? These things mattered. And then what they had me do is I spoke to all the prime ministers who were against the deal beforehand to get them on side, to have them understand the deal, why it made sense, why the economics made sense. And that's how I set the table so that Ursula von der Leyen could come in and she would have the authority, because we have the rock star president.
Yeah.
They have someone who's appointed by 27 other people.
Yes.
And does she have the power? Doesn't she have the power? It's just not the same.
And was she on the phone to Macron and people while she was talking to the president or talking to you? No.
In the weeks before.
Yeah.
So she had to get the authority. And when someone would push back, she would call me and say, I'm not having success with Macron. Can you speak to Macron? And I would speak to Macron,
right?
Go over the details. And he would then say, oh, I understand why we want to do it now.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is you had to explain to him what the alternatives would be if they didn't do a deal.
Right.
And like the pharmaceuticals, like that, that's a problem for them if they don't do a deal. So the idea was to bring them all together, get her in a position, Madam President of the European Union, get her in a position where she could negotiate with Donald Trump. Right? She's uncomfortable negotiating. So we also talked about how she could negotiate with Donald Trump and be successful.
You trained her in a way. You coached her.
Well, I told her that if you attack Donald Trump, it charges his batteries. It doesn't back away. Donald Trump, I've never seen him on his back foot. Like you come at him with energy, you just charged him up. He's coming back at you at double.
That explains a lot.
Right? So he's like a centrifuge. You go in and it goes zing and he goes back at you faster.
Right.
So if you want to negotiate with him, I said, use your superpower. She says, what's that? I go, you're a woman of great authority. Just speak that way. When he says, I'd like to do X, if you disagree, say, oh, no. That's too much. Like, don't say no. No, don't do that. Because if you go at Donald Trump, he's going to win. There's a reason he was one of the great businessmen of the world and he's president of the United States of America. He's going to win. So you have to do it with him. Become his partner. Do it together with him. Diffuse the conversation and make sure you're in it together, because he's always kind and he's always going to be respectful to whoever's on the other side of the table. He's going to be. So when she said, oh, no, they worked it out.
You know Donald Trump better than almost anybody, and he's someone who's an open book, but he's also an enigma. What makes him tick?
He cares about everything, right? And people just don't understand that. He cares about how the columns of the Kennedy Center look, okay? He cares about how that we don't have a ballroom, that we should have a ballroom. Okay, let's build the ballroom. And then when he builds the ballroom, he cares about the design of the ballroom. He cares about the design of the trade policy. He cares about getting the hostages out of Gaza. He cares about settling wars that there's no president in the United States cared about Cambodia versus Thailand. Why would you care about that? Oh, he cares about everything. And that is what people don't understand. And he cares about it not with, oh, you take care of it, or you take care of it. In every trade deal, he does it, not me. He does it. I set the table, but he'll get a better deal than I would be able to get because, shocking, he's Donald Trump and the president of the United States of America. He's a great negotiator and the president, which makes him an incredible negotiator, which he was in the first place.
And is part of that because he has an ability to read character, to understand people's motivation? He seems quite insightful and have high emotional intelligence, I guess.
I think that's absolutely right.
Right.
I think he reads people really well.
Right.
And he's friendly. He'll say I have a good relationship with him and I have a good relationship with him. And he's the president of the United States. When the president of the United States says, I have a really good relationship with XYZ, that really plays well for them at home.
Yeah.
And so he's giving them a gift of his personal feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing that because they're going to do for him what he wants, which is settle this war with this other country. And he has nothing in it, right? Think about it. What does he get out of settling a war with with all these countries, right?
8 countries, I think.
Yeah, so many. What does he get out of it? And the answer is he cares.
I mean, I think you also have the same degree of high social intelligence. You love people.
Thank you. That's very nice.
What I picked up from the little I've met you. But what is your relationship with him? I understand that you talk almost every day. You're on the phone in the wee hours of the morning. What is that relationship?
We're friends.
Right.
We're friends. So we talk about business, but we watch golf.
Right.
You can be friends. And he knows that I will laugh when he tells a joke.
Right.
Whereas other people are afraid. They just don't know whether they can or not. Do you laugh because you think
they're funny? Or?
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't laugh if it wasn't funny.
Right.
No, but when he says one of my favorites was he was talking about bringing back plastic straws.
Right.
And I just thought it was hysterical that the president of the United States, the president of the United States has to bring back plastic straws. And he's talking about like a shark with the straws. And it was just, I thought it was hysterical. Yes. The whole concept is hysterical.
Yeah.
And other people are like, let's do it like this because they don't know if it's okay to laugh.
Yeah.
And I know it's okay to laugh.
But you're a New Yorker and his humor is very New York. It's unique. And I think maybe that's why a lot of people in the rest of the world don't get it.
Oh, he's funny. He loves to go and drive the media crazy with the things. They take him serious on everything he says. Yeah. He wears the Trump 2028 hat and they go, oh, and
he trolls them.
Yeah. He's just having fun. Come on. It's great fun. And everybody takes him so seriously, even when they know it's just fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talk to him at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. You both night owls?
Yeah. I go to sleep about 1:30. and he jokes, he goes, when I call somebody else that late at night, the first thing I hear is the phone bouncing on the ground. And then they say, hello. He goes, whereas I call you, you go, what's up? Yeah, I mean, he sleeps less than me.
Right. How much do you sleep?
I sleep about 5 hours.
Right. Okay.
So I go to bed at 1:30 and I get up at 6:30. He sleeps less.
Right.
And he is just amazingly on it. It's extraordinary because he can call me anytime. Usually I'll say, are you still awake? And then a half hour later he calls me,
And what do you talk about?
Well, sometimes we talk about the day. Sometimes we talk about tomorrow. And sometimes we talk about nothing.
Right. But nothing like what? Golf?
Yeah, just
family.
Fun. Right. What's going on?
Right.
Just nothing. Like men, you have to realize, like when men play golf, my wife would always, when I would come home, she would always ask me, so what'd you talk about? I go, nothing.
Right. No,
men could spend 4 hours playing golf and actually talk about nothing. But just they're friends.
Yeah.
We're just friends.
What's the best thing you've seen in the Oval Office?
Nothing jumps out. Nothing. He can go. The most interesting thing about him is that, like, we're negotiating the Japanese trade deal. And the next meeting is Mike Johnson bringing in 6 members of Congress. So the president sees Mike Johnson. He goes, come on in. You can watch. And they sit and they watch him negotiating with the Japanese. And he puts so much, by doing that, he puts so much pressure on the Japanese. It was the coolest. It was like, as it played out, I was like, wow, that may be the coolest move I've ever seen anybody do, because it empowered him and put pressure on them.
And when did you first meet him? Do you remember the moment?
It wasn't really a moment. It was the New York charity circuit. So basically in New York, you're honored, or people are honored all the time. And the honor is to raise money for that charity. Right. Congratulations, I honor you to raise money for prostate cancer. Right. And you're the man of the honoree moment in exchange for you raising $1 million for prostate cancer. And so you ask all your friends to give money because you're being honored, or you're the dinner chair. So there are always 2 jobs, and your job is just to raise money from your friend group. And in exchange, when you're in New York, when you do that with someone, then you give to all their charities.
Right.
And it's sort of give and take, and that's how it works. So I was out on that charity circuit. During the winter, you're out 3 nights a week.
Right.
And these black tie charity, and Donald Trump is always there.
And you're a young man.
I was 30.
Right. Making your way in Cantor Fitzgerald.
Correct. So I just become the CEO, and I'm out all the time.
You're 30.
And I'm 30.
Wow.
And he's out all the time, and he's 45.
Right.
And we would just, every once in a while, at the end of the evening, we would say, oh, you want to go out? And we would just go out for a drink together. Not,
nightclubs?
Obviously not a drink.
Right.
Because he doesn't drink.
No.
But we'd go out together, just, not to a nightclub with like a disco ball, but like to a place where you could sit and talk, and there are other people around who know him. And he's the most popular, known person. Mm-hmm. So going out with him is so fun, because everybody comes up and says hello way before he was president. I love to say, like, he was on the cover of Time magazine like 58 times. Right. And he'd say to me, Howard, and 20 were good. So who has the power, to stand that there's 30 of them that aren't good, right? Or who's on the cover of so many magazines? And he always has been. So going out with him was so fun.
Did it ever occur to you he would be president?
No.
No.
I don't think I ever thought about it.
Was he political then?
No.
No.
Right. No, but he was talking about the trade deficit.
Right.
I didn't hear it.
Right.
I mean, it's now that I've looked,
and
I see him on Oprah talking about the trade deficit and all these different things.
Yeah.
But at the time, no, I didn't.
And tell us about 9/11. So you are the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. You've got the top 5 floors of the Twin Towers, one of the Twin Towers, and disaster strikes. You lose everybody, including your brother and your best friend. Tell us where you were and what happened that day.
So September 11th is the first day of my oldest son. He's 29. His first day of kindergarten.
Right.
So my wife convinces me we got to take him to school.
Yeah.
So, he's our oldest son. He's got little wet ears. He's got a little backpack on.
Right.
I've got a picture in front of his school at 8:48.
Oh, wow.
Or 8:46, I think, and the plane hits the building at 8:48. It's like 2 minutes before. And remember, I'm so old that their photographs had like a little timestamp in the little right-hand corner in orange.
Wow.
So we have that photo. And then we went upstairs. They told me a plane hit the building.
You're in the school then?
Yeah, I'm just in the school.
Right.
And then my phone keeps ringing, but I have a flip phone. But there's no one on the other end. So just before they came and told me a plane hit the building, my phone kept ringing. I kept saying, like, I was annoyed. Like, they can't just leave me alone for an hour to take my kid to school. I always have to be, something has to call me from work. And then an administrator came in and told me a plane hit the building.
Wow.
So I said to my wife, you stay with my son. And I'm going to go. So, but I hadn't seen a video or anything.
Yeah.
Right? This is 2001. There's no like streaming video on your phone or anything.
Yeah,
like some small Cessna, but I don't know what it is. So I go right to Fifth Avenue because I know, I've been working at the World Trade Center for decades. So I know this, the soonest you can see the building is from Fifth Avenue. You go straight down, and by the time you get to the Village, you can see the building. Yeah. And you can see smoke in the city rising. So I'm scared.
So you could see the two towers still.
But by the time we got there, I could see smoke pouring out of my tower because my tower is the one with the, I never heard of it as the North or South Tower, right? I just knew number one and number two.
Right.
I was in One World Trade Center.
Right.
My firm had the 101st to the 105th floors. Each floor was 40,000 feet. With the best views. Like, it didn't matter whose window. Yeah. The windows were sensational. Looking at the Statue of Liberty, looking at Manhattan, who cared? It was breathtaking. Yeah. And, so I went to the building and I was going down and everybody was coming this way. But I was like, we got to get to the building. We got to get to the building because I could see the building was on fire. Yeah. And I got to the doorway of the building. And I started grabbing people as they were coming out, asking what floor they were on. Right. Because I knew there were lots of doors. There were probably 20 ways out of the building. Right. And if one of my guys came out of this, then they were steaming out of all of them. Yes. And the highest floor I got to was 92, meaning someone told me they were on the 92nd floor. And then we heard this sound. Loudest sound I've ever heard in my life. I had no idea what it was. And I'd never seen a video of all this. So I just hear this noise and I start running, right? Now I'm dressed like this, right? In my suit. I'm running. And I mean, I'm running
what
my
was
tail
the
off.
noise?
It was the other building collapsing.
And what did it sound like?
It sounded like, in Titanic when it breaks apart in the movie.
Right, yeah.
It's like, it was just the loudest smashing, banging I've ever heard in my life. It was an explosion of thunder. Right. And I just started running. And I'm running my tail off, all my might. And I look over my shoulder and there's a tornado chasing me. This black, billowing thing that you've all seen in that video. So I'm running. And then I make a right on VC Street and there's a cemetery there. I've never seen the cemetery. It's not like Trinity Church. It's behind St. Nicholas. Yeah. I never paid attention to it. I didn't know this. But I see the tornadoes coming across the cemetery. And I dive under a car and go like this. And then it just goes whoosh. And then it's black and silent. And I'm thinking, I'm laying there thinking, I'm dead. Son of a gun. Wow. I'm dead because it's silent and black. So I said, all right, I'm dead. So I go like this. I stab myself in the eyes. And I'm like, ah. I'm like, okay, I'm alive. Right. I'm blind. Because remember, it's black and silent. So I'm blind and deaf. But I'm alive. So I said, okay, I get up. But of course, I'm hiding under a car.
Yeah.
So I smash my head.
Oh.
So now I'm bleeding, self-inflicted, bleeding.
Wow.
So I climb out from the car. I stand up. You know what the first thing I do is? I run.
Right.
But it's black. So what do I run into? Parked car.
Oh.
So now I run into the parked car, smash it. So now I'm bleeding, limping in black.
And was there anyone else around?
No.
No.
I saw a light.
Right.
So now I've got it. So I'm like walking like this. And I go to the light and there's a policeman holding a flashlight. So I put my hand on the back of his collar, which is like one of those hard collars.
Yeah.
And I go, let's get the F out of here. Right? And he sits down because he's in shock. The thing went through him and so I grab the flashlight.
Yeah.
So now I got a flashlight. I'm like walking around, limping, bleeding.
Wow.
I got a flashlight. And I just walk uptown. Slowly, the fog breaks down and I can see my feet, all the crap everywhere. I walk uptown. The last part of the story I'll tell you. So I walk to where people are clean.
Right.
Gotta realize I look like I've been flushed down a chimney.
Right.
5 or
Ash
6
all
times.
over you.
All
Gray.
over.
Right.
Just covered head
Right.
to toe. And I go to where there's people clean. And there are people online for a payphone because your cell phones don't work.
Of course.
And by the way, the phone that was ringing that I couldn't pick up, it was my brother Gary trying to call me.
Oh.
And he
After
couldn't
the
get through to
plane
me.
hit.
Yeah, he couldn't get through to me, but he got through to my sister. And she said, "Oh, thank God you're not there." He said, "I am here. And I'm just calling to say goodbye. I'm going to die."
Oh, he knew.
Yeah, they knew he was going to die. So he told my sister he was going to die and he tried to get me and he couldn't get me. So just say goodbye. So I see these people are clean and they're online for the payphone. So I walk up to the front of the line. There's a woman talking on the phone. I take the cradle from her and I hang up the phone. And she turns around to start cursing me out. And she looks at me with the blood and all the, and she's like, whoa, like a ghost. And I called my wife. Because it's like an hour later, hour and a half later.
She must have been panicked.
Tell her I'm alive.
Right.
She saw when the building fell.
Yeah.
She said she fell to the ground because she knew, these were my friends. It was my firm. And you love the people you work with. You don't say it, but you feel it. And the only way you would really know it is if I ripped them all away from you. You know what you would do? You would cry. And I cried every day until October 21st, 2004.
3 years.
Yeah, and I remember.
Why did you stop then?
As I fell asleep that night, I said to my wife, I didn't cry today. And she wrote it down. That's the only reason I know the date. What happened is I would be sitting with you.
Yeah.
And you would say, oh, I knew Suri. Yeah. And I hadn't really thought about Suri's death. And I would think about it right then.
Yeah.
And I would start crying.
Right.
Because you can't process 658 people getting murdered. You just can't.
No.
And so it just stays a part of you for a long time. So then I called my my wife, and that's how she knew I was alive.
What did you do then? I mean, you'd lost everybody in your firm. You'd lost your brother. What made you decide to start all over again?
We hosted a phone call the next night. I had no way to communicate. So I just told the media, if you work at Cantor Fitzgerald, call this number.
Right.
Okay, that was it. That was my outreach.
Yeah.
And so we hosted a call. And I said, we have two choices. We could try to rebuild the company. Or we can go to the funerals of our friends, which will be every day.
Right.
And by the way, there were 20 funerals a day.
Wow.
Every day for 35 straight days.
For your people?
From just my people.
Wow.
So
did you go to them?
I went to as many as I could.
Yeah.
And I became an expert. I'd go to the, I'd go to sit in the second row of the church, say hello to the widow and their family. Then as it started, when there was a break, I would head out and go back and then go to the next church and go to the next church. But I had to work or go to churches. That's one of the two things I would do.
Yeah.
And
how many staff did you have left? Well,
I had 960 in New York.
Right.
So 658. So I had 302.
Right.
But I had assistants without bosses.
Right.
I had four people in the division of 60, so we decided if the boss was alive of a division, we would rebuild it. But the idea was, and all those employees, they said, let's go rebuild the company. We've got to go to work. Now, maybe they wanted to go to work. Maybe they couldn't think of anything else to do, whatever, but it was unanimous. And we committed that we would give 25% of our payroll.
So people's own money.
Everybody.
Right.
And everyone we hired. So imagine I'm trying to hire you.
Right.
Say, come on, join the firm. We'd like to pay you $200,000.
Yeah.
You agree. I go, but I have to send $50,000 to the family, so I can only pay you $150,000.
Right.
So only 1 out of 4 turned it down. 3 out of 4 said, okay.
Wow.
So that's where the money came from, right? You can't make we're not going to make $700 million profit in this company that was destroyed. It came from the salaries of everybody.
Wow.
Okay, so now fast forward to 2008. The company's doing well.
Right.
But how can I go forward having the payroll of all these people, who most of whom I hired, who weren't even part of 9/11, right? Who gave of themselves 25% of their pay.
Yeah.
How can I go forward and be like a businessman again if all these people have done that? So we take a company of ours public, and it's the weirdest deal on Wall Street because I give my shares double what each of those people gave. So let's say in the example I gave, you gave 50,000. Then next you got a raise, so you gave 55,000. Then you gave 60 and 65 and 70,000. So you gave $300,000 over 5 years. I sold at the IPO 300,000 in your name and gave you 300,000 in cash, and then gave you 300,000 in stock for saving my soul. So I gave 1/3 of the company to the employees.
Right.
How much do they own now? 1/3.
Right.
Have they ever sold? No. We had the lowest turnover of any company because, they knew we cared.
Yeah.
And so it was a special company. And that's why I always spoke about it so glowingly. It's not like a normal CEO banter. These were extraordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Take us back to your childhood, and I guess what the resilience that you had on 9/11 came, I guess, in part from the tough times that you had as a child because your parents died quite young. Take us back to Long Island, what it was like growing up, and then the tragedy.
So I had a classic sort of middle class upbringing. My house was identical to the house to the right and to the left, and 6 over and 12 over and 18 over. You'd ride your bike down the street and there were 20 kids who'd join you, and you'd play football out on the street. And when a car would come by, you'd yell, car, and everyone would get off the street, but father was professor, American history.
Right.
Mom, teacher and art teacher, local college. And then cancer. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and that had spread, and they gave her 6 months to live. And she lived 5 years.
Right.
But she lived like a tornado.
Right.
She's like 5-6 months to live. Ready, go.
How old were you when she got diagnosed?
So she got diagnosed, I was 12.
12, right. And you're the second child?
Middle child.
the oldest of the two boys.
Yeah.
And you've got an older sister.
I have an older sister, 2 years older than me. So
tornado.
So she would go to India
Right.
for a week,
Right.
and come home and walk in the door and yell at me that I wasn't doing my homework, like tornado.
Right.
And then she was taking, the brand new chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And, but it was not ready yet. So she lost her hair and so she wore a wig and stuff like that. But she taught me how to live.
How?
Like today is the greatest day of your life.
Right.
Today is the joy of being alive. Every day is the joy of being alive. If you fritter it away and you don't do something that makes you laugh, smile, happy, I kiss my wife. I tell her I love her. I tell her she's beautiful every day, because those things are true every day. And so she lived 5 years.
And did she take you along on part of her?
Yeah. I went. I would get called. I would get called out of school, and the vice principal would come and say, "Howard, come here." And I'd come out of class. I'd say, "What is it?" They'd say, "It's your mom." So I'd go running outside. She was in the car. I said, "You all right?" She goes, "Yeah, let's go." And we'd go to art galleries in the city, and then go see the opera, and then have dinner after.
Oh, lovely.
Just like, and then she'd get me home super late at night and say, "Better get your tail out of bed in the morning and get on the bus and go to school." So she lived life. And so she died in 1978. Right when I was 16. About, the next summer, my father develops a cough, and he doesn't tell me, but they diagnose him with lung cancer, and he does not smoke.
Wow.
So
how did that happen?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
Mm.
He drops me off at college.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know anything.
Right.
Drops me off at college. Goes in for his first chemotherapy shot. Nurse makes a mistake, gives him someone else's, kills him. So
you don't even know he's sick?
No.
Oh.
No. So you lose one parent, it's one thing.
Yeah.
When you lose the second parent, it's a whole nother thing. Okay. The second parent is a whole nother thing. And my relatives pulled out at my father's funeral. My father was killed September 12th, 1979.
Wow.
Okay.
September.
No, not a good time to hang out with me.
No.
September 12th, 1979. At his funeral, his brother says to me, "Do you want to come over for Thanksgiving?"
Right.
I said, "Isn't that like in 2 months?"
Right.
I go, "Are you actually inviting me over for Thanksgiving? Aren't you worried about how I'm going to eat tonight?" He said, "Just let me know if you want to come over."
Wow.
I never spoke to him again.
No.
They pulled away because they were afraid me, my sister, and my brother would be sticky. We'd come over and never leave.
Right.
So it really was.
You'd be a burden.
Yeah. So it was just me, my sister, and my brother. And we were tight.
Yeah.
Tight together.
Did you have money?
No.
Right.
No. Professor, we sold the house.
Oh.
Net of the mortgage.
Right.
Which was mostly, it wasn't, there was
You
no
had
money.
to do all that?
Oh, yeah.
At 18?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to drive home on the weekends to sell the house.
Right.
And it was miserable.
Yeah.
Try selling your parents' clothing,
Oh.
giving it away. It's just, talk about dark.
Yes.
And then driving back and forth in the dark.
Yeah.
Boy, it was sad.
And no one to cook for you or look after you?
No.
No.
Me, my sister, and my brother. My brother went to a boarding school next to Haverford College.
He was just 15.
And he would live with me on the weekends.
Oh, really? At college?
At college.
Right.
He would live in my dorm room with me.
Wow.
And then he did that for a year. And then my sister graduated college and she went to law school at Syracuse. And so then she got an apartment and my brother moved in with her and graduated from the public school in Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
Where she went to a law school. And, we got through.
Mm.
We got through because we got through together.
And what did that teach you? What life skills did that teach you?
I knew what hell felt like. But I also know that you climb out of hell. And so on September 12th, 2001, I sat with my sister. I said to her, "Do you smell it?" She goes, "I do." It smelled like hell.
Yeah.
I was back in hell.
Yes.
Back in the same spot of hell again. But I knew, as one of the few people who actually knew how you climb out of hell.
Yeah.
And so I could talk to the widows in a different way than everybody else.
Yes.
So I would give them my home phone number and they would call me. You couldn't sleep anyway. I have horrible nightmares. So they would call, a widow would call me at 3 a.m. And we'd talk for a half hour. I never hung up first. Never. And I would say something and she would chuckle. And I'd say, 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 45 seconds sucked today. But that 15 seconds is pretty good. Things are getting better.
Right.
You know,
You're an optimist.
But it was a joke that only the two of us could tell. It wasn't for outsiders.
No.
And so I knew what hell was. And I know that hell takes time. And it takes perseverance. And it takes an optimistic attitude.
Yes.
And it takes loving every day you're alive. And you need to love every day you're alive because it's the joy that God has given you today. And you don't know what tomorrow will bring.
No.
Bad day at the doctor tomorrow will change everything. But today's pretty great.
You don't want to take it for granted.
Yeah, you can't take it for granted. So look, I had cancer.
Yeah.
I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And every day I made sure that I did something that made me smile. I mean, you know, you get chemotherapy. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Right.
You know, when you take your dog to the vet, your dog shakes like a leaf.
Yes.
Because your dog knows. Like when I was sitting in the chair, like I figured myself, I'm pretty strong. The nurse would come in with the chemotherapy syringes. My body would start shaking like a leaf.
Wow.
Because they knew the poison's coming. And I'm like, come on, we need the poison. We need it to fight it. It didn't matter. My body was going, woo.
You went through that for 3 years, didn't you? You only got the all clear last September.
No. You get the all clear in about 7 months.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's when, and I don't like rumors. I'm not a big fan of rumors. So when I was diagnosed, I did a video. I put my phone down and made a video and sent it to my employees.
Right.
Right. And then when I went in for my first chemo, I told them, and then I kept them abreast of how it was going. And then when I got cancer free, I said, today I was told I was cancer free. The only time a doctor can say the word cancer to you, that's okay, is if they put the word free with it.
So it's just 7 months.
7 months.
Wow, that's great. And was that terrifying for you, knowing what happened to your parents, that here cancer's come again?
What was terrifying was getting the chemotherapy.
Right.
Because I'm sitting in that chair, like effectively the same chair that my dad was killed.
Oh.
And the nurse comes in and says, okay, I've got this. I'm like,
are you sure?
How do you know it's mine?
Yeah.
And they say, no, we triple check. We do that. They tell us everything. I said, well, how do I know the pharmacologist didn't go on a rager last night? He's getting divorced. And all. And she's like, I'm not going to kill you, Mr. Lutnick. I go, well, I know you don't intend to, but I had more angst.
Of course.
On that topic, because that's literally how my father was killed.
And tell us about your wife, Alison. You've been married, I think, 31 years, which is
almost 31.
Almost 31.
30.
Congratulations. When's your anniversary?
December 10th.
Ah, lovely. So how did you meet her and what's she like?
We had a blind date before Facebook, right? Where you could see what someone looked like. You actually had a blind date. So a friend of mine from college was her office mate in legal aid. My wife is a lawyer, and she was a litigator for the public defender's office. And he he called me, said, you would like my office mate. And so I called her. This is a kind of a funny story. So we have a great conversation. But at that time, I'm traveling. I would live a week in New York, a week in London, and a week in LA. Because I worked for Bernie Cantor. And by the way, Bernie Cantor cut from the same mold as Donald Trump. One of my great advantages is they're not the same person, but the decision by orchestra, all this kind of stuff was similar.
Right.
So to me, I've seen the movie.
Yes.
So a week in New York, a week in London, a week in LA. So I go on, I talk to my Allison on the phone and I say, look, I'm going to travel. I'll call you in a couple of weeks when I get back. So then she goes on a date with an old flame and gets together with him. And my friend calls me and says, she's
off the table,
off with someone else. And I was like, well, I never met her. It's not, So to tell you a little bit about her, 3 months later, she breaks up with him and she calls me. And that's what she's like. She's like, Tuesday? She's like, get back on the saddle.
Optimist, yes.
Yeah. So she
you.
calls me and then we went out. And we would go out once every 3 weeks. Because I would
when
go
you were
out.
back. Yeah.
I would come back and then I would go out. And then she's just such a fantastic girl. So she's beautiful, super smart. We have 4 kids together and great kids. And the best part is my kids love each other.
Right.
They really care about each other and love each other. And that's beautiful.
Did you deliberately set out for that to happen?
I think my kids had a very unusual upbringing. They had an upbringing where their strong, powerful dad cried every day.
Right. Yes.
So my children have empathy. They know when they meet you and say hello that you're putting on a strong facade. But they know your mom could be sick or your dad's got problems or maybe something is going on in your life that you're covering up. And you can, when you meet them, you feel it. And parents don't want their 22-year-old to have empathy.
No.
We want to protect them.
Yes.
Right? Like parents, they dive in front of anything going to their kids so that their kids have a great life.
Yeah.
Right? And so my kids have empathy. And so they are, when people have asked me, wow, they're really like, and you can tell right away when you meet them. And I'd say, yeah, but you don't want to raise them the way I did because it was just sad.
I could talk to you for hours, but I'm getting the wind up. So last question. You are a very successful person. You were around very successful people. You've met so many. What are the secrets of success?
Passion. If you deeply, deeply care, then you'll leave no stone unturned. There's no easy way to great success. Some people are lucky, granted, but most people make their own luck. For me, it's the intensity that passion brings. If I want to do something, I need to know everything about it because I'm passionate about it and I deeply care. So I'm going to read everything. I'm going to know everything. I'm going to talk to everyone. No one is going to know better than I do.
Great way to be. Thank you so much, Howard Lutnick.
Great.
Thanks so much for listening to Podforce One. I'm Miranda Devine. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons just to make sure you don't miss any future episodes.